Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It's me, your host, Joe Slepsky. And man, what an exciting week. Snake Eyes is in the theaters. We've got contest winners. Frankly, I've got another contest to announce. I mean, the G.I. Joe love does not stop coming. Flowing your way, listeners, because I think you guys are all amazing. If you're a regular listener of the show, you know that we are giving away tickets to the Snake Eyes premiere. If you follow me on social media at Joe on Joe Pod, that's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, you saw a picture of me and Snake Eyes himself, Henry Golding, at the premiere. Samara Weaving was there. We had a great turnout of Joe on Joe listeners, past Joe on Joe contributors. It was a Joe on Joe night, an extravaganza for all the world to see. Once again, big thanks and props to Golden Apple Comics. Listen, if you guys are into comic books and you like variant covers, if you like, if you're in LA, certainly if you want to shop there, but if you want to get the access to some of the greatest covers like Peach Momoko, and we do a lot of David Mack covers, check out goldenapplecomics.com. They have everything in your comic book variant needs, exclusive stuff you'll only find over at Golden Apple. Great prices, great deals. So big thanks to Golden Apple Comics for hooking us up with the Snake Eyes giveaway tickets. Now, I teased you. We got another contest, right? And I'm not, listen, this time I'm not going to make you wait to the end of the show either. I've got, let me see here. It looks like maybe five or so. I'm not exactly sure the count. We'll legit it out, but I've got at least 5 exclusive night of the premiere Snake Eyes posters that I'm going to send out. So, listen, if you guys are in earshot and you want to get yourself an exclusive Snake Eyes poster, why don't you email me, joeonjoepod@gmail.com, with the word poster in the title, and I will mail you one. US-based only listeners for this contest, so send an email with poster in the subject line to joeonjoepod@gmail.com. Include your address, your shipping address, etc., so on and so forth. I think I have 5, but as I'll ship out as many as I have. I do got to go get a proper poster tube for it or a flat mailer for it, but we'll figure that part out. We'll get that sorted out. So yeah, I want to give these away to you guys because you guys are awesome and you guys are supportive of the show. So today's episode is absolutely that. It is a Snake Eyes review. And what is the best way for me to do a movie review than with our fabulous sponsor, the Movies in a Meal podcast. Now, Movies in a Meal has been a great sponsor of the show for at least the last year, if not a little longer. And so Ben Penserga reached out and said, hey, why don't you come on the show? And I said, well, why don't we make it a crossover show? So what you're getting today is you're getting actually a conversation between myself and Ben Penserga from Movies in a Meal. You guys also know him from the Cobra's Candidate episode of Joe on Joe, way back. It's like episode 30 of the Joe on Joe show. Ben was my very first remote caller guest, and I was very nervous at the time, and it went well, and we became friends. And years later, here we are talking about Snake Eyes. I never would have predicted a Snake Eyes solo movie. That's fantastic. So the rest of this episode is going to be the recording from their show. Because I urge you, go over to Movies in a Meal podcast and listen to their episode in full. They sent over just the Snake Eyes part, and you'll get a full glimpse of how fabulous their podcast is. So please tell them Joe on Joe sent you. And there's a lot of things in there that, as we were talking, I was like, yeah, this makes more sense and blah, blah, blah. So I don't want to spoil it for you. Oh, and our conversation starts spoiler free, and then we get into spoilers. And I say that because I have a hard time talking about movies without talking about spoilers. I feel like if you want to not talk about spoilers, don't listen to podcasts about movies. Or at least like up top say, here's a brief summary. I liked it. Don't see it. I hated it. It's the greatest thing in the world. Oh my God, I'm a different person now. And then spoiler alert, the rest of it. And so you can skip forward over. So, so we have that caveat on the interview part with Ben, but I have some thoughts now that I've been thinking about since I sat down with Ben on Sunday. And also, you can hear my voice. It was early Sunday after a late Saturday night. I am gravelly as heck, and I love it. But also, I think my mic's a little hot, so I apologize if my mic's a little hot on the recording for that. Bear in mind. So there's two things that I want to hit before we get into it. That absolute spoiler flag. So I hope everyone's seen it already. If not, apologize. There's two main things that have stood out in my head since I had this conversation with Ben that I feel like should have been a no-brainer for this movie. So instead of burying this after the conversation that I have with Ben, I'm going to hit it up top. Two things. One, Snake Eyes should have been blasted in the face with that rock. And that's how he should have redeemed himself to get back into the Arashikage good graces. He just doesn't do enough in the movie after selling them out to get in their good graces. He really doesn't. 100% is my rewriting of it or rereading of it rather. If you show Snake Eyes getting that physical sacrifice and you have a rock that generates intense heat, what happened to Snake Eyes' face? He got blasted with intense heat from the helicopter fuel. If that rock somehow blasts Snake Eyes' face and destroys his face and vocal cords and all that stuff, and in the third act you get this damaged Snake Eyes, but he does it to save the Arashikages. That's how he shows he's apologized for almost destroying the clan. That's the kind of sacrifice that we all attach to Snake Eyes, that he knows he screwed up or maybe he didn't even screw up, but he knows this is the way to make it right. And I'm willing to sacrifice my body to make it right. That didn't happen in this movie is a major disappointment to me, to this reviewer. Broad strokes, I enjoyed it, but we'll get into that in the conversation. But that's the one point I want to make. He should have got his face blasted. This movie should have ended with, ended, but at some point in the third act, he should have got his face blasted. And then they give him the suit, and then he suits up. That shows his sacrifice. That makes me believe that the Arashikages would have accepted him back in after completely lying to them the entire movie. Second point I want to make, the snakes. This has been bugging me. That third trial should not have been snakes, obviously, because snakes have nothing to do with the Arashikages. But beyond whether or not it was snakes or not, that third trial should have had something to do with that stone. What the trial is, I don't know. But it should have had something to do with the stone and something to do with a true member of the clan knows to not use the stone in order to get out of a jam. So maybe there's physical, stress involved or trauma or danger. And you think of strangely, think of the movie Saw, like you have to figure a way out of this trap, but you can't use the stone. Do you saw your own arm off to get out of the trap or do you, use cheat and use the stone? Something along those lines where using the stone is a shortcut. And if you use the stone, then you actually fail the test and you can't join the clan. The reason why I'm going down this route of they should have, which is the worst form of critique. It just absolutely is. I genuinely dislike that. But the reason I'm going down this route is that when you have Tommy use the stone in the final moments of the movie, that shows the viewer that he failed the test that we saw happen earlier in the movie. So if we see Snake Eyes do that test, and maybe he passes it, maybe he fails it. But if we see that test, and the test is to not use the stone, then it's not just lip service. They're not just telling us that that people of the Arishikages shouldn't use the stone. We're literally seeing Tommy fail the test in real time. And that would have been so much more powerful. A moment for having Tommy fail and then him getting kicked out of the clan. As it stands, it's just something we're told they shouldn't be doing and blah, blah, blah. And it's got no connection to, the power of the clan. There's this third element, or this additional element, which is these giant snakes, which doesn't make any sense. So those are my two pre-interview thoughts on this. That since I've had this talk with Ben, those are the two takeaways that I've come back with of like, man, those two little tweaks would have made this would have left a much better Snake Eyes-y taste in my mouth on this. Of he sacrifices, that's how he gets damaged to save the, to come back into the good graces of the clan. And then that contest absolutely should have been what somehow related to how then Tommy fails and gets kicked out of the clan. So, those are my two thoughts. Now, this interview is great. I love Ben. We get into a lot of positive talk about the movie. There's a lot to like about the movie. So it is not all negative. My genuine take on it is I enjoyed it as a film. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of great ninja stuff, but I just think it misses the mark as a Joe film, and it definitely misses the mark as a Snake Eyes film. We get into that early on with me talking about the 4 pillars of Snake Eyes. So stay tuned for that. So listeners, thank you so much. Remember, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. And enjoy this interview with Ben Penserga of the Movies in a Meal podcast.
Here's Snake Eyes!
All right, so I'm pleased to be joined by Joe from Joe on Joe podcast. Joe, how's it going, man?
Ben, it's going fantastic. I'm so happy that we finally got a G.I. Joe movie out so I can have the crossover with Movies in a Meal. I've been waiting for this, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me on your show.
No problem. For the folks who don't know, we were just talking kind of before we started recording that, this is a kind of a long time coming. I was on the Joe on Joe podcast way back. I think it was episode 30.
You were my very first remote guest. You were
nice.
I was so nervous because I'd never, this was 5 years ago. I'd never done a Skype interview or, remote connect. And I was just a bundle of nerves. Yeah. And you were so great. Such a great guest.
Well, we had a lot of fun. Cobra's candidate, if you want to go back. But, it was a fun episode to do. All these years later, I'm glad I can kind of return the favor a little bit. You coming on to talk about Snake Eyes. I mean, if we were going to have you for any other movie, it had to be a G.I. Joe related movie.
Right? I mean, until they come out with Gem, the movie.
Yes.
I want to be called back for Gem. Otherwise, G.I. Joe absolutely fits.
Sure. Maybe there's a Transformers G.I. Joe movie coming. I don't know. Who knows?
What? How crazy would that be? What? I hope so.
We have a lot to discuss. The main reason we're joined together is the release of Snake Eyes, which happened on July 23rd. I believe it's Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins, I believe.
G.I. Joe Origins, yeah. Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins.
So this movie stars Henry Golding, who you might remember from Crazy Rich Asians and a bunch of other movies. Samara Weaving, I think, is the other kind of main person you might know. But you have a lot of other kind of strong performances that I'm sure we'll get into. But Joe here was lucky enough. He's so big time now. He scored a chance to go to the big time premiere and actually meet Mr. Henry Golding himself. So do you want to just explain like how you got the juice to do that and what was like meeting Henry Golding and being on the red carpet?
Thank you for the supposition that I have juice. Truth is, actually, Joe and Joe as a podcast reached out to a couple of people that I know or earlier, like a couple months ago. And we were trying to get a special Joe and Joe screening set up. And the Joe and Joe juice couldn't happen. It didn't come to fruition. So I will say the Golden Apple juice. So I'm gonna give full credit to Golden Apple Comics, which is my shop out here I work at, and they're a good loyal friend of the Joe and Joe show. They are the ones who reached out and said, "Hey, we heard from the studio, and we got some tickets for you to give away at the Hollywood premiere. And so it's not that I have to give full shout out to Golden Apple Comics. Thank you so much, and I genuinely mean that. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was great. 10 of us went. Hollywood premiere at the I guess I was gonna say Man's Chinese Theater, but it's TCL Chinese Theater, TCL. And it was awesome. And because it's Hollywood, we assumed there was a good chance that someone might be there from the show. And sure enough, Henry Golding was there. Samara Weaving popped in briefly before the movie. I don't think she was there for the entirety of it. Someone said they might have seen Andrew Koji there, but we didn't get confirmation on that. All we saw Henry, so we got to meet him and get pictures with him and fist bump with him on the way out and things like that.
Why don't we just jump into it? I guess what are your general thoughts?
General thoughts are it's actually a well-paced action movie. I actually have no idea how long it is even. Because I wasn't
2 hours, I think.
Is it a full 2 hours? Yeah, it flew by. Like it really was enjoyable. We weren't checking watches or anything. It absolutely keeps your attention. The fights are well done. There's some moments of really nice cinematography of stylization. They play with neon and the look of Tokyo. Most of the movie takes place in Tokyo, so they play with that look a lot, and to great effect. The performances are actually really, really great for all the leads. Like Henry Golding he's just a movie star. That's what's cool. Henry Golding he's just a movie star. He's very likable. That sometimes that might get in the way of the character a little bit in this case, because Snake Eyes is Snake Eyes. But Henry Golding himself, though, is really good, and he's a very likable actor, and you want to watch him on screen. Andrew Koji's great. I've never seen, is it Warrior that he's on, the show he's on?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I've heard people rave about it. He's awesome. So he was my biggest surprise, where I left there going, okay, I like that guy a lot. Haruka Abe, who plays a character called Akiko. I don't know why she wasn't Jinx. That's actually the full character's name. Akiko, last name. I don't know why she's not Jinx. She was great. Her character was not good at her job. But as an actress, I really liked her. I mean that. As an actress, I really liked what she did. So it was a really good action flick. I don't think it's a strong G.I. Joe prequel. I don't think it's. Sadly, I don't feel like it's the kind of thing that gets people excited for G.I. Joe. I think it asks more questions about who, what, why, where, how in G.I. Joe than it actually teases you to want to find out. I think it's more confusing, I guess.
And of course, the biggest departure, and I'll ask this to you, is the actual origin of Snake Eyes. It's very different from the comic books that both you and I grew up reading and loving. And it's been a little divisive in the fan base.
A little bit. So there's. All right. So this is my thesis. I've been thinking about this, and this is where I'm going. So I'm unveiling it here on Movies and a Meal. You're welcome.
Okay.
Snake Eyes has 4 pillars. He's a commando. He's a ninja. He has physical trauma, both the face and the voice, but he has physical. There is a physical, visible. If you were to look at him, you see the sacrifice he's given to be who he is. And then he's got that amazing suit, just the look of it. And you can't deny that's an absolute, just the straight up look of it. Start as an action figure. Boom. You can't deny how great that action figure is. Of those 4 pillars, they did one of them. They did ninja. I don't want to go too far into spoilers on it, but they didn't show an origin of Snake Eyes. They showed a couple weeks out of Snake Eyes' life. Like, you don't get a fully formed Snake Eyes when you're done with this movie. Now, you could say it's a technicality because it's called G.I. Joe Origins and it's just a Snake Eyes adventure. Okay, great, fine. Slight spoiler. It ends on a bit of a, not cliffhanger, but it definitely lends itself to a sequel. But that's it. It's not really satisfying in that regard.
I felt like in the beginning, I was missing about 20 minutes of his character, of Henry Golden, the Snake Eyes' character development and like baseline relationship building with Tommy Rashikaze, who becomes Storm Shadow. We all know. I just felt like the turning point, and you could see it in the trailer where you're like, okay, Snake Eyes is a good guy. He's got some honor. It just kind of happens in the movie. It doesn't really build the relationship between the two. It doesn't set it up well enough where I feel like it was earned.
I agree completely with that. I agree absolutely completely with that. But yeah, I don't think I don't think the relationship was earned. And then you earn it through, I guess they grow throughout the movie, but then there's some spoilery stuff about that goes, well, that's not really genuine. There's a blueprint for this character that you don't have to stick to it. We'll address one of the social media elephants in the room. I don't care that he was an Asian cast actor, like Asian. I don't care. It worked. He was American. I love that he didn't speak Japanese. He had to learn it. He had to learn it through. He had his earbuds in, right? That was one of the big, G.I. Joe fans were all screaming, he's a white guy. Not even relevant. Not even close to being relevant. But the stuff that is important about who he is, the stuff that does kind of hew from the comics, is it's just changed for no really good reason. There's no good reason. Well, if you're going to change something, make it better.
Any G.I. Joe stuff, I try to keep with an open mind, and
yeah,
you have to accept that for the art, it has to change. For the masses, it has to change. And if we kept Snake Eyes as he was from the comic books, what kind of movie could we have with a guy who doesn't speak and is masked the entire time? I mean, it doesn't really work.
So I'll counter that though. If you had one shot to do a Snake Eyes movie, and maybe they genuinely think they're doing a trilogy of Snake Eyes movies, and maybe that's the next announcement. But that seems like a really, really hard bet. You have to end it. I'm so sorry we keep going into spoiler stuff. I really can we put a spoiler tag on?
Yeah, why don't we just get out of the way? What are you going to give it 3 out of 5? That's usually our grading scale. Or I'm sorry, I think I just spoiled what I was going to give it. Out of 5 stars, what are you going to give it?
Out of 5 stars, honestly, I give it a 3. I really
would.
I really would. Yeah. Because it is absolutely a fun action movie. He's magnetic to watch. There's good relationships between the 3 main leads. There's some fun moments in it, and you won't be bored. Had it had a stronger G.I. Joe connection, it would have been 4 stars, and stronger meaning more magnetic to want to see more of G.I. Joe. It would have been 4 stars. Had it been a real, had we ended it with Snake Eyes, it would have been a 5-star movie.
Before we get in the real spoilers, the one other part we like to do is kind of guess the Rotten Tomatoes. So guess what the critic and audience is. I was actually surprised on one. I thought
I think I saw it a little bit on Twitter, but I don't pay attention to it. So this is sort of, maybe I saw it, maybe I didn't. I feel like audiences are giving it like 40 or 45%. And critics probably, I would say critics might be a little higher. Critics might be like 55%.
Yes and no. I think there's probably people like you and me, maybe a little, old softies for the G.I. Joe. For critics, 42%.
Oh.
And audience, 72. That surprised me. I thought it might be.
Oh, I'm surprised by that. Okay. All right. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
That's great.
I went to a showing like maybe 5:40 on a Friday, and it's been showing a lot. There was multiple showings at my movie theater, and it was a smaller one, and there was a decent amount of people for the scale of the theater, and it was more people that I would not expect. It was just like there was like some older couples and all that. I mean, the people I would expect to have gone to a G.I. Joe movie, people like us, and then like people who are like us who have kids.
Right.
But there were like some older couples and all that. So I mean, I guess people are into it, or they didn't mind it as much.
Well, it's funny. I've actually heard from absolutely random different sources, people saying that their children, like young boys, have no interest in seeing this movie.
I could see that.
Yeah, but it's crazy to me though, because like, doesn't he look cool? But I guess ninjas honestly they don't have the draw that they did for our generation.
Yeah. And maybe this is a hot take, but traditional, I think most popular Snake Eyes outfit, version 2 with the visor, it's not even my favorite look of his. I like the Commando look from before.
That, first of all, definitely a hot take. I appreciate the Commando look, I always have, but for me it's visor.
That's an iconic look. That is.
But it is. But okay. So spoilers tags off, right?
Yes, we can talk freely about the entire movie.
Also, and I forget, can we swear on your podcast?
Oh yeah.
The last fucking scene, the last shot of the fucking movie.
You mean on the airplane, or you mean like when
with Snake Eyes when he drives off?
Yeah.
That's the first time we get that mask.
Yeah.
That's the first. Okay, you got to be kidding me. You don't find a way. Okay, fine. You got beautiful Henry Golding. You don't want to damage his face in this movie. Fine. And even the G.I. Joe continuity of it all, his face doesn't get jacked up and it loses his voice until he's actually with the G.I. Joe team. So, okay, fine. You want to save that. Absolutely fine. You can't find a way to get him that mask before the third act. So he should be fight the entire third act. He should be in that mask. They even gave it that stupid retractable visor so he could take it off mid-fight and you could see his face and he could go, "Hey, Tommy, let's not fight," and then put it back down. You can't give me a Snake Eyes Storm Shadow fight.
One, yes, he should have had it, especially in the kind of highway
Oh,
car carrier fight,
absolutely.
which is probably the most dynamic action sequence of the entire movie.
It is, but it's edited. I don't like it's. I can't.
Yeah,
I couldn't track. I couldn't track what was going on in that scene. It's exciting, but zero grounding.
Robert Schwentke, or I forgive me, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but like
Schwentke.
He's done some okay action things. He directed like Red and all that, but I felt like the action wasn't as well as I expected it to be for a Snake Eyes action movie. And we didn't really mention him up top, but one of the supporting characters is Iko Weiss, who most people know from the Raid and all that, and he doesn't really get a showcase action scene. None of them really do.
Oh, Hardmaster. He was great though.
He was good.
I really liked him. He's great. That fight with the cups was awesome.
It was cool.
I really loved that scene. The second trial, I loved it when it was an Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
And the third trial was one of the dumber things I've seen in recent movies.
Snake Eyes' origin is messed around with a lot from what we probably expected to be in the comic, which is fine. I don't mind that. And as I watched the movie, I don't know if you've been reading the kind of Real American Hero, Larry Hama's kind of continuation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
So there's, he's kind of mixing all the origins together into Snake Eyes, which is fine. But then the second trial, basically, I don't know. He follows a firefly. My head kind of like to cover it up and be like, well, maybe he just get like some sort of weird drug, and he like you said, he basically kind of confronts his fears like Luke at the in the one part of Empire Strikes Back, and the big snake thing. I was like, here's why
the big snake thing, in my opinion, is both kind of dumb and just doesn't make sense, because the Arashikage literally means storm shadow. Mm-hmm. That's Tommy's last name, and that's the joke. In the reference, Larry was always like, it's hard to pronounce, and so they just call him Storm Shadow. So that we know that that's what that means. They're not the Snake Eyes clan. They're the Arashikage clan. They're the clan of storms. So wouldn't it make more sense to that underneath their temple, which, by the way, the set design on the temple was fabulous. Mm-hmm. I thought it was gorgeous. I thought the whole set looked really great. But wouldn't it make more sense to him going into a cavern and face some kind of demon that had to do with the clan that he was auditioning to be with? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not in favor. Usually I'm not in favor of giant cloud monsters / Galactus / like all those movies. I'm not saying I wanted that per se, but some type of something related to storms, or like something related to the clan. Why they randomly have 3 giant snakes that live there, and that's not a fever dream. Those are real snakes. That just done. And who what that is? That is a studio executive. It's the same studio executive who 30 years ago read the script for Enemy Mine and said, "Where's the mine? Like, where's the giant coal mine in this movie?" And you have to go, well, no, it's talking about like my enemy. I'm my enemy. No, I want a mine in this movie because it's in the title. That's what that is. That's a studio executive saying, well, doesn't he have to fight giant snakes? That's irretrievably dumb, in my opinion.
That felt most like we had in a different script for something else that's not G.I. Joe Snake Eyes, but we'll just kind of graft it into this thing. The Snake Eyes theme is hammered in pretty well with the dice, and they've reused it a couple times. So you don't need a literal snake, and we talk about Cobra, so you don't need a literal snake to fight.
Right. Yeah. Or let's say this, you know, I could think of a million different ways if they retconned it and said that yes, but yeah, if it was tied into Cobra, if the Urashikages were actually supporting Cobra the whole time, but guess what? They're not. They're actually good guys in this. They talk about how they've been doing good things throughout the world for generations. Takes me to the next point of, why are you making Snake Eyes the bad guy in his own movie?
Yes.
I hate that. I hate it. He is the bad guy, and I don't think he redeems himself in any way, shape, or form.
It was a weird turn when it happened, and all I kept thinking about was like, you are on the cusp of joining a group of ninjas who clearly have a lot of pull and many other things. Like, if you really wanted revenge on the person who killed your dad, like, they could probably help you. You don't need Cobra. I mean,
Totally.
I guess you're in too deep by then. Snake Eyes is in too deep with the Yakuza, but they're just like, we can help you. You don't need to do that. He could have come clean with them right away. There are a lot of other things where it just kind of
Well,
was
and
hand waved.
even if they, yeah, well, it's the hand waving that bothers me, because I actually, when you first see the turn and you go, oh man, he's working with what, I like that in the comics. It's always Storm Shadow who's being sneaky and working for the other side. I was like, okay, I'm here for this twist, but you better come up with a real savior moment for him to. And guess, what would have been a great savior moment? Throwing this out there, him taking one of those that rock laser blast. Maybe he takes that to the face.
Yeah.
And he completely sacrifices his face, his voice, everything to save the clan. And then they go, you gave your life, almost gave your life to save our clan. We will take you back in. Right? So he shows sacrifice to redeem himself. He never redeemed himself. He stopped the damage that he started by letting the rock get out. And boy, did they repair that ninja compound really quickly, because that, I believe it was like 2 days later, and the compound's like great. But like, how about that? How about you have Snake Eyes that's how he gets his face damaged, to make up for the fact that he took down, or almost took down, the Urashikages. But no, they don't. And so he's just, all of a sudden, you not only get the keys of the kingdom, you get this great suit we were building, and there's this put upon reason why we have to cast Tommy out, who did nothing wrong throughout the entire movie. He was the hero. He was the best dude in this whole movie. He was always looking out for his clan, always looking to do the right thing. He didn't even kill that guy with the rock. He was trying to save the. I can't.
It was bad. I mean, when I was watching it, I was like, the third act, probably from the highway fight to the end, I was like, okay, this is coming together. And then like the magic rock thing, which again is not a GI Joe thing, but I'm like, okay, fine.
Well, you know what? I'll actually defend that.
Okay.
Because GI Joe is as much the comic book as it is Sunbow, right?
You're right.
As it is DIC, Operation Dragonfire. I mean it. This was really no different than Operation Dragonfire or the Mass Device, or this is introducing that element of sci-fi insanity to this pretty grounded world, and I'm actually okay with that. Like they didn't do a good job of connecting it to the Urashikages. Like, their whole job is to just guard it and never use it. What does that even mean? Why wouldn't you bury, you know what I mean? Like bury it somewhere or destroy it, or like they did not tie it into the meaning of the clan. The clan was doing its own thing, and they had this giant magic rock that did nothing, that they were never able to use.
Yeah, there's no flashback that said like, okay, this thing causes like great harm, and like no one should.
Yeah, or right, or a prophecy that they're guarding it because one day, or maybe there was, maybe I missed that part, but that one day a transformer is going to show up and they're going to need to give it top. You know what I mean? Like, I mean it.
Yeah.
Like they're holding it for a reason. We don't know it, but we cannot touch it. And I believe all they said was, we just can't touch it. Okay, how does it give them power? It doesn't give them. They weren't using it, so it was a. I'm fine with a MacGuffin. It was a poorly used MacGuffin.
A couple other things that I were maybe a little disappointed about. I thought Scarlet would do more. I like Samara Weaving, but her performance as Scarlet, it's kind of like her line delivery was oddly just flat. I don't know. It just
I
felt like it needed more energy, a little bit more energy.
I like Samara Weaving a lot. I liked her a lot in those babysitter movies, and she's fantastic in Ready or Not. I wanted more of her in this. Their line readings were I would agree with you, but they also didn't give her much. What we saw, there wasn't much for her to do. There weren't any, protracted scenes to watch her. All she was were one-liners. Her best scene was her introduction, which was great. She was awesome. And I thought she looked the part. I wish they did give her more. So when Snake Eyes, there was one scene when Snake Eyes, I think it was the final time he took stole the motorcycle, and he's pulling out of the ninja clan headquarters of the dojo. There's an SUV he almost collides with. That had to be Scarlet in that SUV, because you don't shoot that without having meaning behind that. I was like, okay, great. We're about to get more Scarlet. And then we got no more Scarlet. Also, in the motorcycle scene, it's Snake Eyes on his motorcycle. It's Akiko and Tommy on their motorcycles. And then they cut to a third motorcycle. And the dude, whoever is on that third motorcycle, I thought it was Scarlet at first, because it looked like the person had a arrow quiver thing on the back, right? Is that supposed to be Zartan? Was that originally Zartan?
I don't know, because it was just like I had the same thought. I thought, okay, she's going to be there, just kind of shadowing, and then she could be the backup to help.
Right.
And then they're chasing Snake Eyes because he stole the magic rock, and they're upset. And then he's just like, oh, I'm going to take out this random guy. And then Kiko's like, oh, he's on our side. He's like, okay.
Exactly. And because I thought that random guy was Scarlet. So I was really confused. Why is Snake Eyes attacking Scarlet? Because there was no one else introduced that could possibly be, that looked crazy. It's not like we had seen crazy looking bad guys before. So I'm sorry, but in the final cut, let's just venture a guess that that's going to be Zartan, right? I'm not saying it was, but it's somebody. You need to cut that out. I'm sorry. You just need to not include that third biker, because it's terrible. All it does is confuse me as to what the hell is going on. Because I absolutely thought it was Scarlet, like going to back up Snake Eyes and help Snake Eyes, but it's apparently a bad guy. So then that whole scene, then I'm on my toes as to who's fighting who and what's going on and who the bad guys are. And it's poor. That was poorly done. Also, as far as the composition of the movie, you can absolutely track. And I guess I haven't been able to. I'm going to see it again. You could tell that they pieced together this story in post, following Tommy's scar. His scar changes more in this movie. The opening scene, it looks like his scar has been there for like 5 years. It's long and deep and old. Then it gets shorter. Then there's a scene where it's fresh. You can actually see the blood on the scar. Then it gets longer again, and then it's old again. I don't know what that was. I don't know. I have no idea what the original story was for that scar or what meaning it had. But you've now had a year, Paramount, of not releasing this movie. You need to get your final cut in, and you send it to digital, and you go, make that scar look normal. I don't know how you watch this movie, look at a calendar and say, we have 12 months to get this right. And at the least say, can we digitize his scar so that it looks somewhat consecutive, so it's not jarringly awkward?
Samara Weaving, I did like the outfit. She looks like her, I guess, Black Series or Classified.
Well, Classified, yeah. It's a good approximation.
So that was good. Ursula Corbero, who we didn't talk about, she was fine as the Baroness. I didn't, again, she didn't really have a lot to do.
There's a reason we didn't talk about her. Listen, the character on this is actually the flip. This is one of the ones where I thought the character on the page I was fine with. A mysterious person showing up, having a part of it. Her exit line was great. F this, that was great. I'm not a fan of the casting. I don't think she brings the kind of gravitas that I want in a Baroness. I don't know. I guess I just want someone that's more commanding. I like that she was a little sneaky and she got what she wanted, but the Baroness just needs to be the Baroness. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think over the years, I think her characters, maybe she's not as deadly as like Scarlet, but she's almost there. I mean, she's a very dangerous person for
Oh,
a lot of
she's
reasons, but she's not so
yeah.
much in this movie.
No, not at all. I mean, our Baroness, when he refused to give her that rock, she would have shot him in the head
Yes. Yeah.
and take and for real, and then she would have been the bad guy for the third act.
I
And
thought that was going to happen. Yeah.
totally, that's what the Baroness absolutely does. That's how why she's awesome. And then and they kind of, she just gets meekly like, oh, you're not giving me the rock, okay, and and then she leaves without getting what she wanted.
Andrew Koji is a positive. I enjoyed the extended Larry Hama cameo.
Yeah,
That was very nice. I mean, I knew
totally.
Kiko, and she was fine, I guess. And
Why isn't she Jinx?
I don't know.
That just doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
I just make her Jinx.
Yeah.
Why is the grandmother, who I liked a lot, I actually liked the grandma a lot, why is she just not called the soft master?
In the current series, it's just like
Oh yeah.
I think.
Oh yeah, maybe that is what they were going for.
I thought, because she fights with a fan, in the comic book, the joke is that she has a brick.
Right, brick in her purse. No, what you're right. That is exactly what they were going for. Yeah.
I had reservations going into this movie when it was greenlit, and not so much because like the casting of Henry Golding or whatever, but they just have not nailed it. I thought Retaliation was the closest of a G.I. Joe movie, at least like what I would think. They left a lot on the table, I guess, is what my overall assessment is. They could have done better.
They did leave a lot on the table. It's like they were afraid. This movie is Batman Begins meets Wolverine Origins.
Yes.
And this movie would have made us squeal with joy in 2008, 2006. Mm-hmm. It's 2021. We've had 2 full G.I. Joe movies. We've had 10 years of Marvel movies. We're used to seeing people in costumes fight. We're used to not seeing the faces of all of our main characters, for the entirety of the movie. This just feels like a decade old movie that, it just doesn't want to be a Snake Eyes movie. It's crazy that they didn't put his mask on until the final shot. Mm-hmm. That is a third act move. You give him the mask before the final battle. That is insane to me. I don't know. It's just insane. And it's funny because I guess Samara Weaving is Hugo Weaving's niece or something.
Yes.
And Hugo Weaving did V for Vendetta. Right? Mm-hmm. He did a whole movie where you never saw his face. And it was him acting the whole time. It wasn't voiceover. And he's like, you don't need to see my face. This character doesn't need to see my face. And I know he hates these action movies, but you know what I mean? Like, it's so crazy. There's that connection there where he did the best example of an actor subsuming himself to the needs of the role. And the need of the role is we never need to see this guy's face. This is like Judge Dredd, the original Judge Dredd, where Stallone's like, oh, I got to be Stallone, where then you get to Dredd, and Dredd's what's his name? Carl Urban, who's just fantastic. And he's just like, no, man, leave the helmet on. Like, the helmet doesn't come off. Man, Snake Eyes should have got his face blasted, and they should have gave him the helmet, and they should have fought in the last act with just the helmet. Then you get a badass Snake Eyes movie. You end up with Snake Eyes at the end of it. You could still have him run off to go to rescue Tommy and all the other stuff, but somehow that rock just rips his face off.
You have a better ending there, and I guess maybe it's the execs being like, well, we have Henry Golding. He's
I know.
Man, we can't have him under a mask the entire time. But
I know, and that's gross. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's just gross. I know it's a business, but that's not the character. You're telling a different story. You chose to tell Snake Eyes' story, and part of the absolute appeal of Snake Eyes is he is jacked up emotionally, mentally. Everything about him is broken, and that's not apparent in this movie. And he still does the right thing. I'm not against modifying the canon. I'm just saying there's certain core elements of the character that have to be there to have the character. Yeah. You can absolutely change parts of how it happened or or exactly even what happened, but he's a mute damaged commando ninja in an awesome suit. Those are the 4 things about Snake Eyes that that literally are the appeal of Snake Eyes. There are people that prefer him as a commando. There are people that prefer him as a ninja. The suit is appealing to everybody. And then the question is, why does he wear the mask? And the reason is, I'm jacked up. That's it. Everything else you can change. You know, and you know what? If you get creative, you could, let's say in a sequel to this, you could say that maybe he spent his 20s in the military becoming a commando. The only problem with that is he couldn't have, because he had no identity. If they do go that route, they have to bend over backwards, you know what I mean, to explain a military service. So okay, so let's just say military service is off the table. So he's not a commander, you know. I don't know. Like all this, it's just all
No,
it's just all muddying something that was already multiple steps to get to. You know, he doesn't have a super clean origin, but it's muddying a cool character just to what? I don't know.
No, you're right. I mean, I think I mentioned before the spoilers. We're just missing like 20 minutes, and you're right. He doesn't have to be in the army to establish and be a commando to establish his kind of bona fides as a badass. But it's just like we went from a kid, and then he's fighting in a cage.
Maybe you know what? Yeah, maybe right. Maybe hold on.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't U.S. military. Maybe, and I don't know what a proper nomenclature would be, but like maybe he worked as a mercenary. Maybe he did. Yeah, maybe he did learn it through some kind of foreign government, you know, like government training, and that's how he learned to be a commando. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But think about that and give me a 5-minute explanation of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other part too, what I didn't think was earned when he saved Tommy in the fish thing is just like we just get the one scene where he's walking by, and one of the other Yakuza guys kind of hassles him, and Tommy vouches for him. He's like, no, that guy's cool. And that's it. I mean, we don't get like even a couple of more minutes of just like him riding shotgun as Tommy does some stuff or whatever, just to give us a little bit more of a baseline of their relationship, and maybe actually kind of fond of each other before, like, because otherwise it's like you meet a guy and it's like kill him and you're like, I don't know. So
yeah. Like, why would a high level gangster in the Yakuza, which I'm assuming that, or mid level even, Tommy would have been, what Snake Eyes was literally there, I think they say, for 4 weeks, and he's just gutting fish.
Yeah.
So either they did have a quick little action piece, which, okay, show it to us, or why would you're telling me the middle-level guys are hanging out with all the fishmongers?
I don't know. It's a flawed movie. I was going to ask you, out of the 3 that we've got, G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra, Retaliation, and now this, do you prefer one over the other ones, or?
Well, I have to see this one more. I definitely have to see this one again in the theaters to get a good vibe for it. Probably Retaliation is the most fun. Rise of Cobra is probably the last, and then Snake Eyes is either number 1 or 2. And just because it was fun. Like, it's a fun ninja movie. I don't mean this as a total slag on it. It was a fun movie to watch. It just didn't scratch that itch.
I think for all the reservations I have, I'm probably going to see it again, and because just like Rise of Cobra, which I'm not a fan of, I saw a couple times because I kind of want to support, because I'm G.I. Joe loyal. I want to support
absolutely
the brand, and the only way we might get a sequel to fix some of these things that annoy us is
Oh, absolutely. I'm behind it. Arms. I got the AMC pass. I might just start buying tickets just to use my passes. And I mean it. I am absolutely, I want people to see it. I want them, I do want them to see it. I tell you, at the comic shop, one of our one of our loyal customers, about a month ago, I gave him the Snake Eyes reprint of his origin, and he hadn't read it. And I was like, all right, before this movie comes out, you need to read this comic book. Promise me you'll read it. And he didn't care anything about you. He came in this week and was like, what was that? That was the greatest origin of us. And he was in love with it. So he's like, so wait, so this guy killed the Hardmaster? Well, who really shot the arrow? Because whoa, like, his mind was blown by it. Absolutely loved it. And while I'm getting a G.I. Joe convert, I'm also going, yeah, but none of that's in the movie. There's none of that, like, subterfuge and murder of the heart, like, it's just not. It's you walk away from that movie going, So who stole the giant glowy rock and then gave it back? You know,
Yeah.
versus a real clean. Oh man, you killed one of your senseis. What?
Yeah, that was the thing that struck me too about how the movie is kind of an amalgamation of different things in the comic books. You know, Snake Eyes kind of being in the clan for a nefarious purpose. It's kind of like the Zartan, you know,
Yeah,
kind of infiltrating
you're right.
this
Right.
and Firefly too. So I was like, okay, that's fine. You know, I mean, we don't have to. It doesn't have to be a page by
Yeah,
page.
you can mix it up. Sure.
Hopefully,
And
I checked Box Office Mojo. I don't have the I don't have the projections. I know before I think they were having it maybe open as -- 1 for the week, or at least
I'm
being
sure.
projected at like 15 or 17 million. Which post COVID, I don't know what's good or what's bad, but
yeah, right. That drop that that Black Widow had was insane because that's a good movie.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't know what's going on, and I don't think Snake Eyes is streaming anywhere though, right? Snake Eyes is theater only.
I think because it's Paramount, 45 days it'll be on Paramount Plus.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so what is that? September then? Maybe mid-September it'll be. You know, you can watch it at home. So.
Okay. Oh, and one final note: I didn't see any Arishikage tattoos. That was a weird omission because that's like talk about cool factor. That's one of the coolest things about them is these dope tattoos that you get when you get taken into the clan, and no one had them.
No, you see it on some of the banners and stuff, and
Sure.
getting back to that last scene in the movie when he gears up, I was looking for it. I thought maybe it'll be on the show, you know, because again,
It's on his shoulder. It's on his shoulder in that. Yeah.
Well, I thought okay, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's on his shoulder, but it's not like a literal tattoo. Like that's a cultural touch point at this point. Like what? Huh?
Yeah.
No one. How great would it have been to see the granny roll up her sleeve and she's got this dope tattoo on there.
Yeah.
Like that was a baffler. That was really like a why. How could you not? What? Even if you don't like showcase it, just have it on them. Just have them in scenes with these great tattoos, and you go, oh, awesome. They all wear them.
Like I mean, Storm Shadow doesn't like none of the Blind Master or the Hard Master. None of them do.
Yeah, and then just from a let's go a little more crass from a marketing perspective. You want people who are, because there are people who are going to love this movie, and that's great, and I support it. And obviously there already are people with the Arishikage tattoo, but there's going to be people who come out of this going, oh man, I got to get me a tattoo just like that guy. So you know, it's almost like product placement. It's almost like putting a can of Coca-Cola in a scene. The marketing department's got to be like, we need someone in this movie to have this great tattoo so that there'll be people on social media going, look at my Snake Eyes tattoo. I look just like Tommy. I look just like Akiko, you know, and maybe Snake Eyes doesn't earn it yet or whatever. But you know what I mean? You want that from a marketing perspective to give fans something to identify with. I was shocked that was not in the movie.
The only marketing we get is a Hyundai. So
yeah, wow, yeah, we did.
we're trying to do. You know, the Hyundai cars are looking pretty cool.
Hey, I drive a Hyundai. You know, listen. Apparently, I'm a candidate for the G.I. Joe squad.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Scarlet rolls up at the end with a.
Oh boy, is that a lingering shot?
I'm like hyper aware of that because like Marvel is the best, right? It's like usually Audi or BMW.
Yeah.
But you know.
Hey,
Hyundai,
it's Hyundai.
Yeah.
Scarlett drives a Hyundai. Hey.
And I'm not we're just kind of we're emptying the quiver a little bit. Like I'm not a motorcycle guy, but the motorcycles, are they like electric powered? Like they don't sound like motorcycles.
I do think they were electric. I'm not a motorcycle guy. I absolutely think they were electric. And also this is from you guys blocking and tackling of storytelling. You need an insert of Snake Eyes' finger hitting autopilot.
Oh yeah.
You just do. I'm sorry. I know we want to say that everyone, like suspension of disbelief. You believe there's a glowing rock, but that a guy can't balance a motorcycle. All that's crap. No, you have to tell the story. You have plus because, and I believe it because you see those motorcycles being made in this high tech, like Q warehouse, right? You see it earlier Just show him press one button
Yeah.
and then the motorcycle, then you have all the hot motorcycle action you want. We're supposed to believe he's balancing and doing all. No, just hit a button. We will absolutely believe that. We will 100% believe you. We have no problem with that. But you've got to show us hitting the button.
We're kind of heading towards the end here. Is there anything else you want to say about this movie?
It's fun. It's a GI Joe tickle, and it's not enough for me.
I don't know. We'll see. I haven't seen anything else about this is part of a trilogy, or they greenlit anything else, and the whole GI Joe Transformers thing. I know there was a big thing before, maybe even like when we talked last. So it's been about 5 years when.
I heard a birdie chirped in my ear.
Henry Golding?
Yeah, it was Henry. No, a birdie chirped in my ear that Transformers GI Joe has reverse is not too far-fetched. Let's put it that way. That sooner than later there'll be some really serious signs towards that happening.
Josh Duhamel and Tyrese, they were basically GI Joes in the Transformers.
Oh, sure. And in that really, really great, wonderful Bumblebee movie, which I enjoyed. I thought Bumblebee was.
Oh yes.
I really love that movie. What's his name?
John Cena?
John Cena. Yeah, he easily could have been like Joe Colton. Like there's no reason to say that he didn't then start the Joe team to deal with these, Transformers and then whatever. So yeah, no, the blueprints are there.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time.
This was delightful.
Yeah, I know we could probably talk about GI Joe for a long time, but we'll wrap up this part, and we'll definitely have you back, maybe for a better movie, maybe one of your choice we can talk about.
Oh, I'd love it.
Joe, for the people who don't know, where can they find you and all that good stuff?
Well, you can always find me on my podcast, Joe on Joe. It's the Joe on Joe podcast. GI Joe Focus releases every Wednesday. On social, at Joe on Joe Pod, and that's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And what we do is when I have guests on, we watch an episode of the show and we Mystery Science Theater it. And when I don't have a guest, I go through every issue of GI Joe, the comic book, page by page, panel by panel, in excruciating detail, and talk about I bring my insight to the page. All
right, yeah, and if you check it out, Joe. Speaking of origins, Joe is part of the seeds of the origins of the podcast thing, because like I said, I was lucky enough to be a guest on Joe on Joe back in the day, and that was like, okay, maybe gave me a little confidence that maybe we could do a podcast of our own, and so it's all connected.
Oh, I'm so proud. That's so great, because that's my origin too. I was helping out on a podcast, and I said maybe I need to do my own. So it's all family. It's all connected, Ben.
All right, well, check out Joe on Joe, and until next time, I'm Ben, and for Movies and Meal, we'll talk to you later.
Something in there bothers Snake Eyes.
How about all that hot Snake Eyes talk? Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Man, did I enjoy talking with Ben. I hope you enjoyed my dissertation. I hope you got the nuances. It's certainly not the worst comic or toy or adaptation we've ever seen. Absolutely not. There's just stuff that's just missing. The 4 pillars, the commando ninja, the physical trauma, and then his suit. I do absolutely, let's go back to it, man. I think he should have gotten his face blown off by that rock. And, let's tie that rock into the story more. Let's make that rock part of the trial. Therefore, when Tommy uses it, we understand better why he got ejected from the clan. And Snake Eyes is allowed to stay, that kind of a thing. So, yeah, it's great. But you know what? I'll see it again. I've seen it twice. I'm sure I'll see it one more time. And I'm sure I'll be buying it when it comes out on Blu-ray and digital and all that stuff, because I want to support the franchise. I'm loving it. And I like Henry Golding a lot. I like him with Snake Eyes a lot. But let's just get more Snake Eyes into that character, and life will be better. So with that, thank you all for listening. Appreciate you so much. And now you, Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.